Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei was the Red Emperor's Crimson Blade and got Harem? If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Hyoudou Issei is what you can call a teenager who is just normal. He is 16 years old living in Kuo and studying to the recently turned co-ed Kuo Private Academy. The question is he really normal? Now we see him walking towards the gates of Kuo. Finally I reached the gates. I thought I was going to be late. Issei told himself. ItsukiKimura, one of his childhood friends, warned him about Kuo because it is owned by the Citri and the Gremory family of the devils. Should he engage combat to them, he was asked not to use the RedEmperor blade, which was given to him during his childhood training with him, and only use low to mid-class Slayer art magic and basic magic. In other words, Issei is not normal, maybe in some aspects but not normal. He was aware of the supernatural, including his parents about it from the Shidous family, Rias Shidou's family and another childhood friend of his, and the Slayer Family Itsuki. He was trained by them in order to have a chance against beings who have evil intentions and the like. The awakened Ddraig, the Red Dragon Emperor, in his sacred gear, the boosted gear, which shocked the Shidous and the Itsuki. "Ddraig, you think I'm ready for this?" Issei asked his partner. "You were trained for this, partner, be man and go already. There is nothing to be afraid because the Slayer Kimura was kindly enough to teach you ultimate class magic that prevents you and me to be detected immediately, even from the greatest trackers of all time. Truly I respect those guys because of their prowess, but even though they can be regarded as what you can say overpowered, they are not. I believe the Slayer is equal to you in terms of full power." Ddraig explained to him, since he uses his power, there is nothing that could stop them. "Yeah, nothing to worry about. It will take some time before things here get a little messy." Issei entered the gates and received a whole lot of attention, boys and girls alike. For the girls. "Who is he? He's cute. I wonder if he is in our class." For the boys. "Not another one. Handsome. Maybe he's a pervert that only looked good on the outside." And so the mighty have fallen, not even a minute is already the talk of the academy. He proceeded to the student council to get his schedule. To be, there it is. Issei knocked on the door. The door opened and revealed a woman who seems to be in her 30s. "I am Hyoudou Issei, a new student here." He bowed politely to the teacher. "Call me Kagura-sensei, please introduce yourself to the class so we may continue." Issei entered the room, which got the attention of everyone. He is one of the 7 boys in the room. "My name is Hyoudou Issei, pleasure to be your acquaintance." He bowed again to the class. He received comments, of course, mostly similar to the ones he received at the gates. Questions. Mostly about if he has a girlfriend, hobbies, likes, dislikes, and 2 of the most preposterous things he heard as of today: "Are you a pervert? And do you have a harem?" This is going to be a pain in the ass. I wish I could visit Lucretia and train with Kimura and his sisters right now. And now our story begins about a boy who really wanted a normal high school life is now going to be filled with romance, action, and shenanigans all over it. Issei was sure glad school was finished after being dubbed the second prince of Kuo due to him beating up the perverted duo from peeping the kendo club. Truly, he thought of it, he was taught everything in Lucretia similar to the materials taught in school, but he doesn't want to miss out high school life. He then notices he was being watched by a fallen angel. "Not even a single week I'm being targeted already. I thought I had that anti-track magic on." "It's on, partner, but blame your draconic scent. It attracts everybody, friends and foes alike." Ddraig explained to his partner. Issei just sighed in annoyance. "Let's just get this over with." Issei then continued to walk to the bridge when the fallen came up to him looking flustered. "Oh come on. She's going to try to ask me on a date, is she?" he thought. "Partner, don't use your power here. A devil was following you." "I know, Ddraig, I just have to accept this fallen's date invite and interrogate her at the end. I really hate killing anyone just because they came to kill me. I listened to her reason first," Issei explained to the dragon. Are you by chance Issei Hyoudou?" the girl asked him. She really is a great actress. He mentally sweat dropped. "I am him, who are you?" "Great. Do you mind going on a date with me?" I'll check my schedule." Issei checked on his phone's calendar. "I'm available on Sunday, but first, what is your name?" "My name is Yuma Amano, pleased to meet you." "Okay Yuma-chan, see you on Sunday." He walked away as the fallen continued to wave at him. Meanwhile from the trees, a white-haired girl saw the entire thing. "I must help but you." And then she disappeared in a flash of red light. Kuo Academy, or Club Room, Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Rias Gremory is thinking what to do about the new transfer student, Issei Hyoudou. Sure, he is already popular with the girls and hated by the boys, but there is something in him that makes her drawn to him, well, not just her but every supernatural being in Kuo. He was already targeted by a fallen angel due to she ordered her servant Keko to follow him. Looking to his history and student profile from the student council, he is just normal in his past, no contact whatsoever with the supernatural, but was very smart, athletic, and righteous. She blushed as she already was very helpful to anyone who needs help. She thought to herself, maybe he could help me with my problem with him. Preparing for tomorrow, she ordered her familiar to give Issei Hyoudou a flyer to summon her when he calls out to it. Her familiar flew away and observed the boy and give the flyer at Sunday at his date with the fallen. Guo Shopping District, Sunday, 12 p.m. Sunday has come, the time for the date to begin. It was noontime, and Issei Hyoudou was waiting for his date to come here. She sure is late. What do you think, Ddraig? Think she's going to come or just assassinate me? He asked the dragon inside his gear. Be patient, partner. All girls are usually like this before the beginning of a date. Maybe she actually likes it that part. Ddraig told him he was bored due to the wait, but since he has a host to talk to, he doesn't mind the fallen angel's tardiness. This is a fallen angel we're talking about, you know most of those crows can't be trusted. I know I would spare her for her explanation later, but I just want to be cautious and not to let my guard down. He retorted. You got a point. The dragon then became silent. Please have a flyer. A girl wearing a bat costume held out a flyer to Issei, he accepted it and looked at it very closely. The girl then vanishes out of sight. So, Rias Gremory makes her move, huh? I really should learn a spell that prevents my draconic scent to leak out of me. He is really disappointed at himself. He prepared a multitude of mid to high class spells just to stay incognito, but he forgot to veil his scent. Uma arrived 30 minutes later and Issei noticed her eyes. She must really hate humans, better ask her later. Sorry for the wait, Issei-kun, did you wait long? Uma asked him, having a note of worry in her tone. No, Uma-chan, I just got here though. Issei rubs the back of his head. Shall we get going? She held out her left hand to him, he accepted it. Yes, let's get going. Guo Park, 5:30 p.m. The date was normal at least. They gone to ice cream parlors, shopped some clothes and accessories, and family restaurants. Now it was ending. Issei prepared for the time of truth. He knows devils were watching him, but he must not bear ill will against them. Nobody is perfect and everyone makes mistakes. The date was fun. Issei-kun, in commemoration of our date, would you hear my request? Uma asks him. Issei mentally tensed up and just to be sure, he already gone for silent boost 2 times. He expertly hides his increased power and he needs to show the fallen angel who is more dominant. Sure, what is it? He played along. Would please die for me? Uma then changed in appearance, now wearing an S&M outfit. Her bust and ass became bigger and defined and she became sexier. No, Issei, stop thinking bad thoughts. This is your life in danger. Stay focused. Now please die. Uma created a light spear and throws it at him. Issei just stood and caught the spear, shocking the fallen angel and the watching devils from afar. He then crushed it like a stick. You know, you really need more information about your targets. I'm going to ask some questions, do you mind? Issei slowly releases some of his aura, scaring Uma bit by bit. You're just a human. I'm going to kill you even if it kills me. Uma screamed at him, creating more light spears and consecutively throwing at him, but Issei just either dodges or crushes them. Issei then silent cast light binding at her. The fallen angel falls to the ground, no pun intended. Now her hands were bound to her back and her legs bound together. Now we are both civil here, answer my questions and you are free. If you do not, I cannot promise you would survive with the devils lurking behind those trees. Issei pointed at a huge flock of trees at a distance from their position. The devils, upon hearing Issei's declaration, tensed upon being sensed. The fallen angel gulped at this and just agreed, judging by the date, she knows Issei is very kind-hearted, always putting others first before his own sake. So who ordered you to kill me? He asked in a serious tone. Our original order was only to watch you from Azazel-sama, but Kakabiel threatened my team and forced us to obey him and sent me to kill you. If I don't succeed, he will kill all of us. Another one is to retrieve a nun named Asia Argento, who in turn possesses Twilight Healing. She told everything she knows about the forced order. I see. Now another question, what is your true name? Huh? I said what is your true name? Oh, it's Rayner. She blushed because Issei's face is getting closer. Okay, Rayner-chan, it seems you and your team is in a pinch and clearly needs help. How about I give a helping hand? I know we may have some bad blood right now, but we can be cool if we can help each other, right? It's like you help me and I help you kind of thing. You can help me by telling your team not to be hostile with me, and I can help you with your problem, and probably you and your team's survival rate inside the territory of the Gremory and Citri. Do we have a deal? Issei held out his right hand to her and she shook it. And now to deal with the devils. You can go now, Rayner, and warn your team about the impending fight. Issei removed the bindings and she flew away to the abandoned church. Okay Gremory senpai and company, I know you're listening. Issei called out to them. One by one each member of the org comes out from hiding, including the Crimson Ruin Princess Rias Gremory. Let me get these straight dear devils. I am not a threat and if you wish for me to part of your peerage, we can talk about that tomorrow. We'll play Q&A at your club room as for now I am tired. See you tomorrow. Issei then disappears in a flash of green light with a magic circle with an emblem of a dragon. He's an interesting cowhide, I wonder how more interesting he can get. One Himejima Keno thought out loud and activating her S mode on. Would you stop at a Keno, but rather than interesting, Issei Hyoudou is an enigma. Ria said to them. I have to agree to you but you, Hyoudou-san's stances of a martial artist and a swordsman. Kiba told his master. I can't sense anything from him. Issei senpai clearly knows to be cautious at all times. Kaneko Taoju said emotionlessly to them. He appears to be an expert in magic and as Kiba says, a martial artist and swordsman, but I can't help to feel an incoming dread tomorrow. From what we have heard a while ago, the fallen angel Cadre Kakabiel arranged orders for his Ddraig. Issei-kun giving aid to a team of fallen angels and a nun named Asia Argento who possesses twilight healing is coming here. This town surely attracts the attention of many. Ria summarizes the information they got this afternoon. After that, all of them teleported to the Orc Club room. Guo Academy, Monday, 7 a.m. Issei decided to talk to the devils later at their club room, for now he is going to class. He messaged telepathically Rayner, saying if he sees the nun first, her team must go on to the preparations, if they see the nun first, they must message him and wait for his arrival. According to the telepathic message from Rayner last night, Kakabiel entrusted a former exorcist named Fried Selzen. He was a psychopath according to her and indiscriminately massacres devils when he sees one or more. This disgusted Issei and he promises when he sees that guy, he is going to erase Fried's existence from all worlds known to him. Damn it, I wish my life here would be more peaceful, instead I got the opposite. Issei groaned mentally and entered the gates. It's Issei-sama. One girl shouted. Hi. He's so cool. Please go out with me, Issei-sama. I'll have your babies Issei-sama. Issei shivered on the last comment. He received comments too from the boys which consist of. Go to hell. Why won't you die, you pretty boy? Always hugging the girls all to himself. Hope you don't have children in the future, bastard. On the last comment Issei turned to the boy who said it and released a little bit of his aura to scare him. The boy in question wetted his pants and fainted. Seriously, boys and girls these days act based on someone's appearance and actions. Partner, blame their hormones for that. Even you have hormones despite your resistance to seduction. I'm beginning to ask if you are even a man. Ddraig added. Shut it Ddraig. I'm man, I just don't ogle too much to the opposite sex and don't make me go in there to kick your dragon ass. Issei has an ability to go inside his soul and have occasional spars with Ddraig and sometimes to beat up his partner when he is acting an ass. No don't come in here. I already had enough. Ddraig begs his partner. The last time he acted an asshole, Issei literally became the god of sadists everywhere. Even though they have disagreements sometimes, their bond cannot be broken, but only by death. Classroom, lunchtime, 12 p.m. Issei just went through well in class. He is very smart and recognized as the only one who perfected the entrance exam, the highest was a total of 99 out of 100, scored by Sona Citri, whose real surname is Citri. He was receiving challenges from her in chess, but replied some other time please and walked away, still she was determined to get a match from him. I really need to accept her challenge, or else my locker is going to be filled with challenge requests. He thought and left the academy for a while because lunch break lasts for an hour. Streets of Kuo, 10 minutes later. Issei just walk on the streets, keeping an eye out for the nun Asia Argento. He heard a groan from a distance. Oh, why do I keep on tripping? A nun clad in white said. She must be Asia Argento, what a coincidence. He quickly ran up to her and helped her up and gathered her belongings. Ah, thank you so much. May God bless your kind soul. She thanked him sincerely. I seemed to be lost, I was going to a church in this town. There is a church in this town but it was abandoned for years. It's okay that is my destination. They started to move when a cry was heard. Why Mommy, I have a wound. A boy was seen crying from a scratch. Stop crying Yash-kun, I'll wipe the wound away. The boy's mother took out her handkerchief when the nun went to the boy. Big boys shouldn't cry from these wounds. The nun then gone in a praying position and the boy's wound was healed. Thank you dear child. The mother of the boy thanked her and also her child. Thank you Nee-san. The boy smiled cheerful and both he and his mother walked away. They said thank you, sister-san. Issei spoke up to her translating what they had said. Impressive power you got there. He added. Yes, impressive indeed. It was given to me by God. She then had a sad look in her eyes. Issei telepathically messaged Rayner about his find. She responded back that they will prepare immediately. Don't worry Argento, you will be safe with us. They proceeded to their destination. Abandoned church, 20 minutes later. They have arrived to the church and Issei broke the silence. It seems this is where we stop and I must be going. Issei told her. Wait. Would you like to have tea with me inside? She asked. Sorry but I still have classes. Issei must keep on this act, if he and the fallen angels do it right, he can both save the two groups from the clutches of Kakabiel. If it isn't too much to ask, what is your name? My name is Argento. My name is Issei Hyoudou, pleasure to be your friend. As he said those words, Asia has tears in her eyes. You would be my friend? I can't thank you enough Issei-san. Asia rushed to him and hugged him for a moment before releasing him. Then Asia-san, I would like to know your story the next time we meet. Issei then leaves with his back turned and he heard Asia called out to him. It would be my pleasure Issei-san. The nun waved at him and he disappeared from her sight. Rayner, Asia is at the front door. Be sure to introduce yourself and your team to Asia as my friends. Keep her hidden from Freed if he isn't there, otherwise distract her and divert Freed from your location. He telepathically messaged Rayner and she responded. It will be done, Issei-sama. Rayner then cut off from communication. He can't stop Rayner from calling her Sama because she carries a debt to him, he would not admit it, but she really should stop paying her debt to him and be cool with her life. Now to meet up with the devils for our talk. Issei teleported near the school gates. Guo Academy, Orc, 5 p.m. Issei and the devils gathered around for the talk. Rias spoke up. I see you know about us, but we don't know about you. If would you be kind enough to introduce who you truly are Issei Hyoudou. My history is sketchy, right? I can't tell you the full truth yet and I can only tell you the most of it. Issei then closed his eyes and sucked in a deep breath. I am Issei Hyoudou, trained by the Shidous exorcists and the great family Itsuki. I am also the current wielder of the boosted gear, thus making me the current Red Dragon Emperor. He bowed to them and they were shocked. It's not every day you would meet the Red Dragon Emperor, less to be his acquaintance in school. Ria's eyes starred upon hearing this. She would get her freedom from the scum riser. You have knowledge of the Devil Society, yes. He nodded. Then would you agree to be in my peerage? She has high hopes for him that he would accept. I would agree on a few conditions. He replied. Rias tensed upon this, would he ask her purity, wealth, or maybe something more? I would become a free piece. Rias calmed down a bit, but being a free piece he would not become a devil and have some little freedom from her control. She was okay with the last part but got curious on the first part. She also remembered if he dies a free piece, she cannot retrieve the pieces. You would agree that I have fallen angels and a nun in my care and not to act hostile against them. Rias and her peerage's eyes narrowed at the mention of this, but even with the power of her peerage or her right now they couldn't argue back to him. The last one is Rias and her peerage were preparing for maybe the worst condition. Let us get along, shall we? Upon hearing this they breathed a sigh of relief. I accept these conditions. Rias and Issei shook hands. She then began transforming all her pawn pieces to free pieces and then all of the pieces went through Issei. Welcome to the family Ice-kun, Rias chirped happily as she got what she wanted. Well then Rias Gremory. You have the Red Dragon as your ally, please don't betray my trust. Issei smiled and all went well. Things are going to get a little shaky from now on. He thought as he chatted to his new friends. Planet Lucretia, town of Takamagahara, home of the Slayers. Kimura Itsuki was meditating below a waterfall when he sensed a disturbance. It seems the threads of fate had begun to be sewn again. Events are now centered to you again my dear friend Issei. He dried himself before grabbing his Nadachi, Tengoku no Arashi no Sakebi, Cry of the Heavenly Tempest, and went on to his home to prepare. I'll see you soon Issei, you can count on it. The week passed and all went well. Issei get to know all of his allies in the orc, he told them all some information about his powers, but only the half-truth of it. He didn't want them to be shocked that he can basically eliminate them if he wishes. Now Issei is chatting with Rayner and her team inside his house. So Issei-sama, when will we make our move? Rayner asked. Me too Issei-sama, we must prepare for the worst because Freed is no ordinary exorcist. Rayner asked too along with Middled. Donasik respected Issei because he felt the humongous aura he let out when he tried to attack him, much to the displease of Rayner. Rayner and Middled know that Rayner is the strongest of their team and just obeyed their new master. We need to have an alliance to the devils since I'm Rias Gremory's free pawn. We must settle the hate against races or else our dear nun will die. He said to them and got a look of hate towards the devils, but agreed nonetheless. The more the manpower they have the better they can save Asia Argento from Freed. I know Issei-sama, but you're already powerful. Why not save Asia already? Rayner asked him. She knows their new master is powerful enough to destroy mountains, yet he didn't show it. You got a point there, Kala-chan, but I want to avoid attention to myself due to the ceasefire of the three factions. I see. The fallen angel team agreed to his logic. In the supernatural world, the more powerful you are, the more attention you get from other supernatural beings. It is natural to hide and make connections first before having your existence known throughout the world. Well, the rest of you can leave now, I have to speak with Rayner here for a bit. They nodded and teleported back to the abandoned church, while Rayner remained. Rayner was nervous when Issei asked her to remain, there are so many thoughts running through her head right now. Rayner-chan, I have something to ask you. Issei spoke in a serious tone. She was sweating, she hopes that he is not going to ask to take her purity. Why do you hate humans? He told her. Rayner gave Issei a shocked look before answering, humans are the cause of my fall. They are barbaric and savage. I was once an angel, a guardian angel to add that. I was tasked to guard a little girl until she reaches the first step of her teenage years, yet I failed to be a guardian. She and her parents were murdered by criminals in Germany, I was furious, filled with rage I slaughtered them all. My rage is my sin of my fall. Even though there is a chance of redemption for me, I didn't take it because there is already blood on my hands. She finished while tears rolled down from her face. Issei comforted her by hugging her closely. Rayner blushed at the contact and found it comfortable. It is not your fault, Rayner. Some humans are good, some are evil, and some are in between, but never forget these humans are also the cause of balance. Like two sides of a coin, black against white, yin and yang, or the most common, male or female. Also do not forget each and every one of us makes mistakes in our lives. Issei gave her some words of wisdom which causes Rayner to respect him more, not as a master, but as a friend that you can lean on your troubles and fears. Now Rayner, go back and report to me at Sunday, I need to speak to Butchu about our plans to raid the church. She nodded and before leaving she told Issei. Issei-kun, please hurry. I do not know how long we can stall freed from knowing the arrival of Asia. She pleaded and left. Issei looked to the ceiling of his house and said, you do not have to worry, I'll make sure to save her. Guo Academy, or Clubroom, Saturday, 3 p.m. Issei sat on the couch waiting for the others to arrive. Currently, Kaneko and Kiba were there. Kaneko sat next to him and Kiba is leaning on the wall. Rias and Aeno are currently in the underworld reporting the recent events in their territory. Strange, I sent something in the room with yellow tapes. Don't you think so, Ddraig? Issei mentally talked to his partner. I sense it too, but it's faint, a vampiric aura with high magical energy. I guess your king sealed someone in there because she can't control it. Ddraig gave his own opinion. Rias and Aeno have arrived an hour later. Now their discussion will begin. So Ice, what is you want to talk about? Rias asked him. I really want to know what Ice-kun have planned for us. Aeno covered her mouth while giggling. But you, Aeno-senpai, everyone, I already contacted the fallen angels. Hearing this caused everybody in the room to tense. From their explanation, they were threatened by a cadre-class fallen angel named Kekabiel, thus forcing them to obey every order they received from him. Issei explained in a calm tone while everyone had eyes wide at this. What does a fallen angel like him want with this town? Rias asked him while Issei deduced the only possibility. From what I heard from the fallen and my research of all supernatural beings in Japan, Kekabiel is a warmonger and thus he wants to restart the Great War. He faced all of them, earning many shocked looks from them. Because of this, I want to help those fallen angels so that we may have the good side of the Governor-General Azazel and saving a nun named Asia from the stray exorcist freed Selzen. Everyone in the room understood what he said, not only by saving a team of fallen angels from the clutches of a warmonger to have a positive reaction from Azazel, saving a nun from the church from a stray exorcist will result the church to have a little good outlook to devils. I understand, Ice. Now everyone prepare. We're going to raid a church tonight. Rias, now filled with determination, commanded her peerage. Hi Butchu. Rias' peerage responded. Abandoned church, 7 p.m. The whole peerage was on standby while Issei contacted the fallen angel team. The atmosphere was tense and everyone was waiting for the signal to strike. Rayner and her team flew to the spot where the peerage is. Issei has his arms crossed waiting for an update from them. Issei-kun, we have an emergency. Freed already discovered Asia a while ago and now he is beginning the ritual of extracting her sacred gear. We tried installed him as much as possible, but he sniffed her out. We got to hurry and save her. Rayner told Issei as she panics, her team has a gloomy expression on their faces. Issei clenched his fists while his other friends have a look of concern, he already silent boosts 5 times while hiding his ever-growing aura. We need a plan, I and Rayner's team will storm the front while you Butchu and the others flank from behind. It's time to get this show on the road and I hate to keep our guests waiting. Issei prepares multiple magic circles and activated arcane aim. Ddraig activate boosted soul. Issei called, now summoning the boosted gear. Everyone was shocked seeing the current Red Dragon Emperor on their side. You got it. Soul ignition. Ignite link. The boosted gear cried out while everyone feels their fighting spirits have risen to their limits. Let's win this. Issei and Rayner's team stormed the front while the rest flanked the back. Inside. Rayner, Kalwerner, Middle and Donasik flew right through and started throwing light spears to nearby exorcists, while Issei used Terra's wrath to shake the ground and sink into earth some exorcists. Rias and the others flanked from behind and took care a handful of exorcists there. Kiba summoned 2 swords and quickly dispatched about 10 of them, while Keko charged in knocking out most of them. Those who survived got electrocuted by Akeno's lightning and disintegrated by Ria's power of destruction. All of them meet up at the entrance of the church's basement and went in. All of them were shocked seeing the nun Asia Argento tied up in a cross and seeing about 50 exorcists and 1 freed Selson. You're too late, shitty devils. The ritual is almost complete. Freed laughed maniacally and the rest prepared for battle. Issei-san. You came to save me? Asia called out weakly while Issei was downright furious. Arcane slaying arts. Circle of the sacred elements. Issei shouted and a massive buildup of magic was felt. A huge emerald-colored magic circle appeared and all 50 exorcists were either burned, swallowed by the earth, frozen solid, electrocuted, drowned in a sphere of water, or blown away to death by a heavy whirlwind. Only Freed remained and all other spectators watched as Issei easily killed, slaughtered 50 exorcists in one spell. Alright, bring it on, you shitty devil. Freed prepared his light gun and lightsaber and began attacking Issei. The latter just kept on dodging while the former is getting more annoyed. Arcane aim. Wind gale whirling kick magical winds surrounds Issei's right leg and kicked Freed at the side, causing the crazy exorcist to smash into a wall. Ha! Even though you hurt me, the ritual is complete. I now have twilight healing. Issei encased his fists in earth and his earth-infused fist smashed into Freed's face. While Freed is continually healing, Issei continually do this until Freed was dead. The fallen angels and the Gremory group freed the nun from her bindings. Issei knelt down to Asia's side, gently stroking her hair. Thank you, Issei-san, even though we met in just a short time you declared that you are my friend. For that I can rest in peace. No, Asia, please don't die. Issei cried tears while others watch as the scene continues. You are truly a kind person as my only friend, for you cried for me. Asia said those words as her eyes closed. No one said a word for a moment when Rias said to Issei, I can revive her, you know. Issei looked to Rias and he just said, please Rias, save this innocent girl and have her power for your dreams. It's okay, Issei, having a healer is just a bonus. I'll revive her for you. Rias hugged Issei and pulled out a bishop piece. I, Rias Gremory, command you, Asia Argento, to live again as my bishop, walk into this earth again, and rejoice in your new life as a devil. The bishop piece went in Asia's heart while Issei attached the rings of twilight healing, and Asia's eyes fluttered open and looked around, and first seeing Issei. Am I in heaven? No, Asia, you live again, as a devil. Issei replied. I don't mind being a devil as long as I'm with you, Issei-san. She smiled happily and hugged Issei as she also receives jealous glares from the females, namely Rayner, Kalwerner, Middle and Rias, while Akeno and the others watch in amusement. So what now, Ice-kun? We don't know where to go. Rayner asked Issei. He was about to respond when Rias interrupted. That can be arranged, Rayner. You and Middle must act as students while Kalwerner and Donasik act as teachers. Is that okay to you? Rias offered. The fallen angels thought about it and accepted. Now you 4 are going to live with me, despite my house is small, its interior is as big as a mansion due to space-time magic. They agreed while Rias was jealous that 3 fallen angels who are girls are going to live with her eyes. Yosh, now everyone, even though it's Saturday, don't forget to sleep early. Issei turned into Nai-san mode, telling them about being healthy and his job to take care of them. They just sweat-dropped at his antics. Guo Academy Gates, Monday, 7:30 a.m. After the incident in the church, Issei and the group relaxed yesterday. Rayner, Middle, Asia are to become students, while Kalwerner and Dahansik are teachers. Rayner took the name Amano Yuma, while Middle took Amano Mei, and the 2 are to be half-sisters. Asia just goes on with her original name, while Kalwerner takes Kasara Hina as her name, and Donasik took Yakuto Daichi as his name. Things were normal at the least, but Issei was getting annoyed that Rias keeps clinging on him a lot in his house, but he kept calm. The devils observes their king's antics and know her personality. Once she wants something, she will do everything to get it. We see the group including Asia and the 2 student fallen angels walking towards the entrance, and once they step on foot of the grounds, all eyes were on them. Hina, Kalwerner, and Daichi, Donasik, went on ahead of them and proceeded to the faculty room to get their schedule. The 2 will surprise them about what subject they will teach throughout the year, and they were bound to meet Kagura Kumi, their math teacher. I feel something is going to happen later. Partner, don't jinx yourself. It's a bad habit. Issei was just silent and went on with the others while not hearing a lot of comment from the boys about the 3 new students. Class 2B, 30 minutes later. Issei sat on his place beside the window and waited for the 3 to introduce themselves. Asia, Rayner and Middle entered and introduced accordingly. "My name is Asia Argento, hope we can be friends," Asia said in a cheerful tone, getting all the males except Issei riled up. "Amano Yuma, pleasure to be here." Rayner bowed in an elegant fashion and the boys were mesmerized by her gaze. "Amano May, half-sister of Yuma-ni-san, I hope we can get along." Middle bowed normally but never forget to add an aura of playfulness in her. All the boys rejoiced. "Woohoo, we got 2 hotties and 1 cutie. I'm grateful to be in this class. Asia-chan, please be my girlfriend. May-chan, go out with me. Yuma-chan, please have me." All in all, Issei was annoyed, but before he could release some killing intent, Kagura-sensei beat him to it. "Irasai. If you boys with the exception of Hyoudou-kun here don't calm down, I'll castrate all of you. No questions asked." Kagura-sensei's outburst made all the boys hold their treasure and paled wider than a clean paper while the 3 sat on their seats. Asia is beside Issei, Rayner was behind him and Middle is in front of him. "I need something to enjoy myself." Before they can continue their class, Kagura-sensei called out. "Okay class, before we start, we have 2 new teachers that will be in your class later. Okay, you 2 please come in." Rayner and Donasik stepped into the class. The appearance of the 2 were quite shocking for Issei and the other 3. Rayner's attire is a summer dress and she looks like a country girl that picks sunflowers. Donasik's appearance looks like one who works in Japan's Ministry of Defense. Look for Karasuma's regular outfit from Assassination Classroom. "I am Kasara Hina, you can call me Hina-sensei, and I'll be your teacher in social studies." Rayner spoke in a light tone perfect for a countryside girl. Most of the boys blushed at her tone of voice, while Issei's, Rayner's and Middle's mouth were agape. Asia just smiled. "Ikudo Daichi, you children can call me Daichi-sensei. I'll handle your PE and English subjects." Donasik spoke in a professional voice, and all with the exception of the 2 devils and fallen angels stiffened at this. "Hina-sensei will teach all of you after me while Daichi-sensei will teach in the afternoon. Do you have any questions?" Kagura-sensei asked them and no one responded. Good, now on with the class. The 2 teachers left and Kagura-sensei started teaching. Rayner's class, 1 hour after Kagura-sensei's class. Rayner entered the class and the class almost erupted to cheers. "Okay, settle down class and let us begin." Rayner's voice calmed down everyone and she is teaching about mannerisms when speaking in high society. All students including Issei and the others were shocked that a countryside teacher was teaching high society manners. When walking, always be in mind on your posture. Keep your face straight and eyes lock onto your front, but also be aware of your surroundings. Rayner demonstrated how it was done and she received a chorus of yes. 30 minutes later. The bell rang and it was time for break. Many students swarmed Asia, Rayner and Middle and asked a lot of questions. Issei does not want to hear any of this shit and just went on with his meal. Issei finished eating a sandwich when Genshiro Zauji, a member of the student council, came up to him and gave him a letter. Issei knew that Sona Citri is still pestering him for a chess match. "Sona really doesn't give up, does she?" Issei asked Zauji. "Ichu is very persistent with her goals. She sees you as a potential rival in strategic encounters," the blonde replied. "Good grief, well tell her I accept, but it will be in my terms. Explain to her I can't fight her right now, but maybe later in the afternoon." Zauji nodded and left him. Issei groaned and proceeded to eat his second sandwich. Later inside the school gym, Donasik's class, 2:30 p.m. All the class 2B students are in their PE uniform. Donasik changed his clothes to a black jumpsuit. "Alright everybody, listen well and carefully because I will not repeat myself. This class is not just about your physical fitness, I will teach some self-defense techniques." "Daichi-sensei, why do we need that?" a female student asked. Good question. Why you ask? Because most of you are female students, there are a lot of crimes happening these days, and one thing to be sure is most females in this school are vulnerable to kidnapping and the like. Before we start the training, give me 15 push-ups and 15 sit-ups. Donasik used his whistle as the start of the activity. 15 minutes later. Okay, now may I ask how many of you are in the class? Our class is 30, sensei. There are 10 boys and 20 girls including the 3 transfer students. The class representative answered diligently. Work by pair, a boy will be partner to a boy, same goes for the girls. Donasik arranged them individually. Issei was paired up with some boy whose name he didn't care to know. Said boy's eyes are burning with hatred and jealousy. Issei just sweat dropped at this. Asia was paired up with ItsukiKimura, Rayner to Middle, the perverted duo to each other, and the rest are history. When Donasik gave the go signal, all hell broke loose. Issei's partner charged at him head-on and Issei just either dodged or countered. By the end of the period many students were lying on the floor with light bruises. Issei's partner got the worst of all. The boy got bruises on his cheek and thigh and a black eye to add. Okay, now rest up, I will teach you basic hand-to-hand combat tomorrow, and this session is for your assessment. We got a lot of work to do. Don't dismiss them and the day goes on. Friday after classes, or clubroom, 4:30 p.m. The week is almost over. Asia, Rayner and Middle got along with most of the second-year students, while Calwerner and Donasik got along with the students of the school very well. Calwerner's attitude as a teacher was shocking. She said that she was once an country girl teaching in a village until her apparent death and ascension to heaven. Donasik's experience was he was once a military trainer in Rome and taught every Roman soldier hand-to-hand combat, discipline, and weapon combat. The student fallen angels were shocked to know about it because in the ranks of the fallen the past does not matter. After the talk of the past, Sona Citri, Tsubaki Shinra and Genshiro Zauji walk inside the orc. Rias and Aeno were expecting them, Asia and Middle were in the couch chatting, Rayner and Issei were chatting too, Kiba is leaning on the wall, and Calwerner and Donasik were writing lesson plans. Oh, how nice you to come by here Sona. Rias greeted the student council president. Enough with the pleasantries Rias, you know what day is it today. Sona spoke in a serious manner enough to for everyone to stop whatever they are doing. Why of course I know. The full moon is tonight, we can visit the familiar forest too for our new members. Rias replied. My servants need familiars too. Only one of our groups is able to go there for the catch. Sona countered her own opinion. I see, how about I suggest a game between our groups? Rias gave her own opinion. A rating game, you know we are not allowed to do those games right. Of course silly, I suggest a game of sports and before we begin, I believe introductions are in order. Issei and Asia walked up in front of the student council and introduced themselves. Issei Hyoudou, free pawn of Rias Gremory. He ended with a bow. Asia Argento, bishop of Rias Gremory. Asia bowed with a bashful look on her face. Zauji Genshiro, 4-piece pawn of Sona Citri Kaichu, how about that prince? Zauji stop that at once, you cannot win a battle that you'll lose. Sona warned her pawn. Really Kaichu? I bet he just became a servant of Rias Gremory because of his good looks. Before Sona or anyone could retort, a chilling aura can be felt. Listen well because I will not repeat myself. I consumed 8 pawn pieces and the reason why I don't show my power is that I am not allowed to, not by you, but by a friend that I've known since I trained for this power. If you don't want to be sent to the moon with your shoes in your ass, I suggest you shut up. Issei's eyes briefly turned to a crimson color before suppressing his massive aura that almost choked everyone, while Zauji stood in his place paled white in fear. Oh okay then, how should we proceed in our game? Sona almost broke her serious facade with a sweat on her brows. Most of the students are dismissed already, so how can we play a good game? Everyone thought of something, but Issei spoke first. Kaichu, how about that chess match you kept on asking from me? Issei said childishly and everyone sweat dropped, talk about split personality. Huh? Oh yes of course. Since you accepted on Monday, now we can settle this, winner goes to the familiar forest. All agreed to this, while Sona wished to see Issei's intellect and thinking while the battle goes on. 30 minutes later. Sona and Issei were in the climax of their game. The next move settles it all. Sona's pieces on the board were only 4 pawns, no bishops, a single rook and knight, no queen. Issei's pieces were 3 pawns, 2 bishops, no knights, a single rook, and a queen. Sona was forced back into a corner, she made a bad move using castling, and her queen was taken, her bishops was lured into a trap by pawns, and she is forced to protect the king using her remaining pieces and used a defense counter tactic. Issei was calm, even when his 2 knights were taken he still has his queen piece, but he cannot rely to the queen always. His observation on Sona is that she cannot be fooled more than once in a battle, but that adds pressure to her as the match continues. He going to take a page from Code Geass, make the king go forward. You moved your king forward, how bold. Sona was almost caught off guard by this move and she was staying alert. Really Kaichu, a lesson for the kings in the devil peerages. If a king doesn't move, his subordinates won't follow. Everyone heard this, no expected Issei to be this smart, but they let go of the thought, Issei was the one who almost aced the entrance exam. Sona moved her rook and checked Issei's king. Check. Issei just smirked, she fell for his trap. Issei took the rook and checkmated Sona. I believe Kaichu this is a checkmate. Sona's eyes were wide, she got defeated, by a second year no less. She let go her frustration and humbly accepted her defeat. He defeated me in chess, I think I found the one. Sona had her growing blush. She will tell Issei when the time comes. Okay orc, be prepared. We're going to the familiar forest. Rias spoke up, the student council left, and the orc is prepared than ever. Kuo Academy, or Club Room, Saturday at 12 p.m. Issei at least is having one of the major headaches of his life. After the incident in the familiar forest, things are quite wild in the Orc. The pale blue-haired lady, 3 fallen angels, and the rest of the Orc are there. The blue-haired lady is very beautiful, she seems to be in her 20s or early 30s, and she is currently arguing with the Crimson Ruin Princess, Rias Gremory. Just really, devils today are quite spoiled. Rias Gremory, just because your brother is a Mayu, you can't have everything you desire. Don't get jealous, Chaos Karma Dragon. You are just the same, like now acting quite the possessive Dragon King towards your master. The Chaos Karma Dragon Tiamat and Rias Gremory are in a heat of argument, their object of argument. Issei himself, currently Rias is pulling his left arm while Tiamat is pulling his right, a little more he is going to burst and chop the heads of the two ladies. Before he could relay the information how it all happened, he glanced at Aeno. Currently she is talking with the Rayner and middled, she's opening up a bit, he thought. A little push from Kimura when he arrives is going to change her completely. Flashback, before the familiar forest, yesterday at 5:30 p.m. Rias was preparing the magic circle to the familiar forest when Issei noticed Aeno's attitude. Sure, the Yamato Nadeshiko of Kuo Academy likes to show a smile, but now she wasn't, she is currently watching the fallen angels from a corner in the clubroom. Aeno-senpai, Issei called out to her, which snapped her from her hateful glare to the fallen. It's not my place to pry, but whatever your past involving the fallen angels is, please let it go for the moment. If you continue drowning yourself in hate, it will consume until you drive mad. I assure that there is someone who is going to save you from that phase of yours, and I'm sure it is not me. For now, enjoy the moments you have with your current friends, which is us, plus give the fallen angels a chance, because not all of them are evil, only most of them. After giving Aeno his little speech, she thought about it thoroughly. By that time they were ready to go to the forest. Flashback, now in the forest. They have arrived safely at least. It was one time when Issei teleported and caused an explosion which left the client out of commission. Because of that, Issei was not allowed to use his own teleportation spell when answering clients, and only used the Gremory crest as the teleport spell. Asia and Middle were totally crept out by the forest until a man that looks like an overgrown Ash Ketchum arrived. He introduced himself as Zauji, the familiar master. Issei thought to himself, now this is just copyright infringement. Not only he looks like Ash Ketchum who was abandoned, he acts like him. Better steel my nerves for this. As they traverse the forest, many familiar are to be seen. Back at the clubroom, Rias, Aeno, Keko, and Kiba showcased their familiars. Rias was the bat that gave Issei the flyer on his date with Rayner. Aeno's are tiny Anis, which are mischievous. Keko's is a white cat which she named Shiro, and Kiba's was a bird. Asia was excited to get a familiar. Middleton Rayner just shrugged, while Calwarner and Donasik just nodded in approval. After several minutes of walking they got results. Asia got a lightning sprite dragon. Said dragon was aggressive toward males with the exception of Issei, because Issei just leaked a little power to show who was superior. Middleton Rayner got shadow wolves, which are very loyal to their masters, and Calwarner and Donasik got nothing. They just said okay because they have some strength to defend themselves. Issei watched as his new friends got familiars while he doesn't. He asked Zauji a question. Zauji-san, is there a way to attract familiars here? Why, of course, young devil, just flare your power so that it could be a beacon to the creatures in this forest. Issei sweat dropped as for the first time Zauji was not speaking in rhymes, he was having a major headache by that time. Issei then flared his power to a minimum so that no one suffocates in the pressure when a loud roar was heard. Roar. The earth shook at the sound when Zauji was in panic. Hey kid, are you the current Red Dragon Emperor? I am, why of it? I pray for your soul. Zauji then ran in a safe spot so he could watch his impending doom. Ddraig. Come out, you bastard. Ddraig, did you piss of someone? Cause I'm sure you did. Oh shit. I forgot about her. Ddraig ranted inside the gauntlet. What? And then a massive blue western dragon landed in front of him. So you're the host of Ddraig, huh? I'll teach that bastard a lesson by removing you from existence. The dragon said furiously, and Issei was pretty sure the dragon was female. He wasn't even fazed by her threat. Oh, for the love of, could you please shut the funk up, Issei ranted, and his outburst caused the dragon, Ddraig, Zauji, and his friends flinch at his tone. The dragoness was momentarily stunned by the boy's audacity. She thought he doesn't know his place when Issei slammed his foot on the ground, creating a mini earthquake. Sheesh, I can't seem to catch a break here. Issei pinched the bridge of his nose. I don't know who you are or what you want, and I'm sure D-Bag over here done something pretty stupid to piss you off, am I right? Issei said while pointing at the boosted gear. Before the dragoness could reply, she shimmered in a blue light, then revealing a beautiful blue-haired woman with a voluptuous figure and her waist in an hourglass shape. You are right, boy, Ddraig committed a grave sin against me. I am Tiamat, one of the Dragon Kings, the Chaos Karma Dragon. I did not do anything to you, Tiamat, I'm innocent here. Shut your mouth, Ddraig, you just forgot the sin you committed to me. Shut it, both of you. Issei momentarily leaked a lot of his aura, causing the dragoness to sweat a little. If I may ask, what did Ddraig did to you? Hey. Ddraig clearly was offended by the insult given to him earlier. HMPH, he destroyed my nest when he and Albion were fighting. He promised me that he'll build me another one, but now he is sealed inside a sacred gear. Now I am exacting my vengeance against his host for the past centuries. I'll make you a deal. I'll materialize Ddraig's spirit so you could beat him up and you'll be my familiar, sounds fair, right? It's a win-win situation for me, even though you're his host, nothing is better than beating that bastard down. They shook hands at the bargain while everyone was agape at the scene that unfolded. Partner, don't you dare do this. Ddraig was panicking, he knew Issei can materialize his spirit in human form, now he just fed him to the wolves or the wolf for that matter. Relax, Ddraig. Tiamat-san here is just giving you the beatdown of your life. After that girlish screams could be heard. Flashback end. Issei Ddraig is not pleased, he was silent for since yesterday. When Issei saw Ddraig's human body all bruised, he felt little pity and healed all his wounds, but Ddraig gave him the silent treatment throughout the day. Tiamat and Rias let go of Issei, and now they are butting their foreheads against each other. Issei sighed and excused himself from the club. Issei's house, 1:30 p.m. He was feeling tired and just let his body fall to his bed after he ate a homemade meal. Suddenly Ddraig spoke. "Can't really speak with Tiamat near, I still haven't forgiven you, partner, for that. Ha ha ha, don't worry, it won't happen again. I'm just a little stressed up with things going on lately. True, with a lot of women flocking around you right now you can't seem to catch a break. I wonder how Kimura will react to your predicament." Issei shivered slightly at that, Kimura is sometime a little sadistic streak at punishments. One time he accidentally caught his two sisters naked as they were born when Issei was going to ask a question to them back at Lucretia when he was 12 years old. Kimura's face has smiled with a lingering dark aura and tortured trained Issei for a day. As Issei looked up to the ceiling, his hand caught something. Looking to his left hand was a letter, he quickly opened it and read its contents. "Dear Issei. If you're reading this right now, as assume you are in your house resting since your visit to the familiar forest. Don't worry, I'm not mad, it's natural for you to have so many girls around since you have your draconic scent, but if you look weirdly at my sisters, you're going to have a bad time. Now off with that, things are stirring right now here at Lucretia, the air here seems to be a little off, and that means things are going to get a lot worse from now on. My sisters and the other great families are discussing about something related to a rise of calamity, I fear for them right now as I am sent to you. Expect me to be there in a week's time, we'll stick together as this matter is being resolved here. Their friend and mentor, Kimura." As he finished reading the contents he stared out the window in his room with narrowed eyes and pondered. What the heck is happening right now? Guo Town streets, Monday at 7:30 a.m. Issei walked towards his school, he can't help but think about what Kimura said to the letter. He sent that as a warning, and Issei must prepare for what is going to come. A warning of calamity, disturbance in the air at Lucretia, the meeting of the great families, Kimura being sent here, so many things happening, and with Ria's troubled face yesterday. Flashback. While walking around town and visiting the club room, Issei noticed the troubled face of his king Rias Gremory. He walked up to her and asked what is wrong. "Is something bothering you but you?" Rias broke off her gaze on the horizon and faced Issei. "Nothing to be worried of, Ice-kun, there are just too many things in my mind right now." Rias smiled at him while Issei decided not to pry, but narrowed his eyes. He can tell she was wearing a fake smile. "If you need anything but you, don't hesitate to ask any of us. We'll stick by your side until our last breaths." Flashback end. He arrived at school and went to the classroom, hopefully classes will keep his mind busy from other things. Class 2B. Issei entered the classroom and to his surprise Tiamat was there, apparently Rias forced her to be a teacher, and her name was Takamagahara. He just face-palmed himself as his class is getting more annoying day by day. Tiamat was teaching literature and she was good, her attire was similar to Kalwerner's teaching uniform, and many guys cheered, but she gave them a glare, and as soon her gaze landed on Issei she smiled and the boys glared at him. "This is not good," Issei groaned mentally and just ignored the glares of hatred at him. Time skip, Thursday at Issei's house, 8:30 p.m. What a rough week, tomorrow is Friday, and I hope it doesn't turn up like these past few days. Calm your mind, partner, thinking too much may cause your mental and physical health to go down, Ddraig explained as Issei responded. "Didn't know you're a doctor, shame you're sealed though." "Why, of course. I'm a dragon of many talents. Some of my past hosts were doctors and used my power to boost their medical prowess, most of them are mages who knew healing magic, while some are regular humans." Ddraig prided himself for that as Issei sweat dropped. You see, Issei's predicament in the past few days were a little chaotic, and because he was him, karma was a bitch, literally. The chaos karma dragon caused a lot of chaos and mixed with bad karma, no pun is intended. Tiamat's presence caused the male population to go rowdy, or in other words chaotic, and for Issei was bad karma because she was giving him suggestive looks which caused the female population go rowdy and chased him even in the male side of the washroom. Suddenly a red magic circle appeared. Issei recognized the crest was of the Gremory family. Rias appeared after when the light died down. Is there anything I could do for you but you? Issei was surprised Rias showed up to him this late, one look on her face, and he could tell she was desperate. Yes, there is something I would like you to do. Rias replied while getting closer to Issei. What is it but you? Issei raised his body from bed when suddenly Rias tackled him and he fell on his back on his bed. Make love to me, Ice-kun. Issei's mind went overdrive. What are you saying? He was panicking as Rias proceeded to remove her uniform and leaving only her underwear on. Please take my virginity, Issei. She then removed what's left of her garments and revealing her naked glory to him, she quickly grabbed his hand and placed it on one of her breasts. Issei couldn't take any of this, he can't use his powers or else he might harm Rias. He looks to her eyes as if he was looking at someone with only the last resort of her life. Before Rias could continue her plan, a magic circle appeared again and this time a silver-haired maid came out. It appears I'm too late. Rias sighed as Issei recovers his bearings. Oju-sama, please cover yourself. It is not right to show your body to anybody. The maid stated as Rias glared but clothed herself. I could do what I want with my body and show it to anybody who I deem worthy. Grafia, did you come here on your own accord, on Nai-sama's orders, or my family's orders? All of them. Rias-sama, please come with me at once with a reason that your family wishes your presence. The now named Grafia bowed slightly as Rias got up and walked beside her. Pleasure to meet you, you must Hyoudou Issei I presume. I am Grafia Lucifuge, the maid of the Gremory household. She held out her hand for a handshake and Issei accepted it. Pleasure is all mine, but what is this all about? He asked. Before Grafia could respond, Rias answered him instead. All will be revealed tomorrow, Issei, please forget what happened here tonight. With that they teleported, leaving Issei to think for himself. This is not good, things are starting to get shaky. He slept with rushing thoughts of what could happen tomorrow. Friday at 5:30 p.m, or club room. The Gremory peerage and the fallen angels are assembled right now in the room and Grafia Lucifuge was standing beside Rias who sat behind a desk. Rias, Oju-sama, would you like me to explain the current situation? Grafia offered. No Grafia, I'll explain. You see, she was caught off when a flame bursts at the side of the orc. From the flames a blonde man appeared. Riser Phoenix has arrived in the human world. The air here seems too polluted for me to breathe. At first sight Issei doesn't like this guy. First he was speaking in third person, and second, he looks like someone who has a lot of pride in them. May I ask who this person that appeared in front of us is? Issei asked, his nerves are starting to bulge at the presence of the scum. Oh? It seems Rias you haven't introduced Riser to your servants. If Issei wasn't trained in controlling his emotions, he would already punch the guy. Hyoudou-sama, this is Riser Phoenix, third son of the Phoenix family and Rias Gremory's fiancé. Grafia said to them, shocking Issei, Asia, and the fallen angels. The other members and Tiamat just stared. Riser sat next to Rias and started to touch her. Aeno prepared tea and gave it to him. Rias queen has always the finest tea. He complimented. Thank you. Aeno wore a fake smile and her thanks was not sincere. Riser then started to touch Rias' thighs and Rias struggled. Let go, Riser, and for the last time I will not marry you. But my love, our kind is in near extinction. The pure-blooded devils are low since the Great War, we have no choice but to do this marriage. I am willing to marry and choose a husband for our kind. Then he was cut off. But I will not marry you, your ego and pride are on the roof. You're scum to begin with. Rias, I have my pride as son of the Phoenix family. I'll drag you to the marriage hall even if I have to burn your servants and these fallen angels. The group got their guard up, but a striking aura was felt. All eyes landed on Issei, his hair shadowing his eyes, and a green aura is visible. Grafia was frozen stiff, she faced stronger foes before, but Issei's aura was overwhelming. One of the things I dislike the most are scum like you. Issei summoned the crimson blade in its sheath, and all eyes were wide at it. Let's say I fight you, if I win Rias is free from the arrangement, but if you win you can have me in your service. Me, the great Riser, fight trash like you? You clearly do not know your place. Riser raised his hands up creating flames in both hands. Issei was ready to unsheathe the blade when a white blur stopped him. Calm your instincts, Issei. Now is not the time to fight. A black-haired boy with striking sapphire blue eyes appeared in the orc. Kimura-san, you're here already? Issei calmed down and lowered his guard. Yep, the one and only, so what do we have here? Kimura looked around and all eyes were on him. Riser brought down his hands and the rest are on guard, waiting for something to happen. Or clubroom, same day and time. The tension inside the room was so thick that you could cut it with a knife. Before anything else happens, Issei frantically responded. What the hell, man, I thought you would not be coming sooner. Kimura replied in an amusing manner, his face looking like one idiot who is very blunt and dense. Meanwhile in a certain guild. Achoo. Natsu, are you sick? Asked a flying blue cat. Heck no. I never got sick, maybe somebody is talking badly about me. Natsu huffed in annoyance. If you say so, and continued munching on a fish. Now. I said in that letter expect me in a week's time, not specifically in a week's time. Issei can't argue with his logic and just shut his trap. Anyway, what's going on here? Riser answered him, this discussion is none of your concern, human, leave at once before Riser incinerates you. The room's temperature got lower and the lights dimmed as if they are going to go out at any moment. The only light that was bright was Kimura's sapphire eyes that seemed to glow in midst of the darkness, his body crackling lightning every second and his finger pointed at Riser. You clearly don't know when you're outmatched, little bird. I suggest you shut up before I remove your soul from reality itself. His voice was colder than the ice of Cocytus, sharper than the sword of summer, and a lot more venomous than the pit snake of Tartarus. Riser found himself sweating and he gulped. He thought this man is more of a monster than Lord Lucifer's servants. Then his face turned into a happy one. Now that settles it, so do anyone mind explaining the situation? Wow, everyone thought. Talk about split personality. Gremory, peerage and fallen angels except Issei, seems Issei got his split personality from him. Riser and Grafia, what just happened? Issei answered him instead of anyone because it might set him off again. The situation is about Butchu's engagement to Mr. Littlebird over there. Issei pointed Riser and Riser grew a tick mark. Shut it, you lowly peasant. Riser held his hands up and lit them in flames. Hyoudou-sama, Riser-sama, I suggest you stop your quarrel before somebody gets hurt. Grafia answered and ice is already spreading from the place she stood. Riser stiffened and put out the flames, while Issei just stared at the maid. My sincere apologies, Kimura-sen, was it? This meeting held here is about the engagement of Rias-sama and Riser-sama. Grafia explained while Kimura sighed. Marriage engagement, huh? I'm not a fan of this type of encounter, but I'll try and cope with everyone. Also, Issei didn't tell his club mates that I'll be arriving from my written letter. Kimura said that while glaring playfully at Issei while he was looking sheepish. After the discussion and the reveal of Riser's peerage, which disgusts the orc including Kimura, Grafia went back to the underworld and the conflict will be solved in an unofficial rating game. Rias spoke up first, so you're Issei's mentor, you look not older than us. True that, but training in a dimension where time is 10,000 times faster than normal changes you, and that is also for Issei. Kimura replied. All eyes of the orc stared at Issei in shock while he nodded and shrugged. Training was very harsh, it includes heat and cold endurance like exercising inside an active volcano and meditating in a raging blizzard, almost died though, and also swordsmanship from the master swordsman of Lucretia, which also includes discipline and basic knowledge of the world. Imagine all that training from my childhood up until I arrived here. He summarized the beyond hellish training regime and all paled except for Kimura. Kimura broke them out from their stupor and said, if that is all, let's meet up again. If you would like to train with my guidance, just call me, and do not worry, for it will not be harsh. Everybody said their goodbyes and they are preparing for the 10-day training in the mountains owned by Rias family. Issei's house, same day, 8:30 p.m. Issei sighed while Kimura sat down at the couch of the living room. You know, things are never easy for us children of prophecy. Kimura said in an exhausted tone. I know, but sometimes I wish I lived in a normal world without all of these things happening. Issei replied, looking at the window. I should inform you, Alyssa's project Avalon is nearing completion. Kimura narrowed his eyes, also staring now at the window. The Pendragon's world protector system, but I thought it would be several years for it to be done. Issei exclaimed in shock of the revelation. Kimura chuckled in response. Alyssa Pendragon is very diligent, her intelligence and battle prowess is immense, surpassing her father before her. While I'm at equal grounds with her in terms of skill and power, I cannot surpass her in her way of thinking ahead, not until my father sacrificed himself. Kimura said the last part in sorrow, while Issei comforted him. It was his choice, Kimura, his life or the entirety of reality itself. I know, but it doesn't have to be him. Kimura's eyes started to water. Just let all your emotions flow, there is no use in keeping them locked in you. Just as Issei said, Kimura fell upon his knees and cried out his sorrow. Issei pats his back for comfort. How can someone be so strong but so broken in the inside? Issei thought, string at his friend who already fallen asleep on the ground. It's your father's choice to use last salvation. Noah's Ark to save all of us in reality. After that he carried Kimura to the guest room and he slept back to his room and fall into the embrace of sleep, thinking of the things to come. At the summer mansion of Gremory, Wednesday. Hectic is what you can't call the orcs' days, it was utter madness. It has been 2 days since they started and true to Kimura's words, not hellish but very harsh training. Let's start back on Monday. Flashback, Monday at the academy, class 2B. Kagura-sensei walked up front and gathered everyone's attention, clearly urgent in her news. Okay, from this day forward I introduce you to your new classmate. Itsuki-san, please come inside. All eyes were now staring at the raven-haired boy that entered, with his sapphire blue eyes shining bright. Many of the students have mixed feelings that include shock, admiration, envy, hate, and basically the typical antics of the perverted duo. Greetings, my name is ItsukiKimura, I hope to be great friends with you all. Kimura smiled with his eyes closed and bowed, many of the girls sans Asia and the fallen angel duo went kaya. Their screams nearly made Issei and the other boys go deaf. After that, Kimura received a lot of glares from the boys, without Issei of course. Okay Itsuki-san, please sit at the back of Argento-san so we may start. Kagura-sensei spoke up and everything went to order. Issei fears for his sanity as a whole new level of craziness added in his life, he thought his friend was not going to go into Kuo. Fate always likes to screw with him. The old deities of fate and destiny, funk you all. Issei screamed at his thoughts as all said deities sneezed and said I don't know who you are, but I'm going to find you and screw your fate more. Issei regretted at what he thought and shivered, he just sighed and mumbled I'm really screwed. Although class already started, many stares from boys and girls alike were directed to Kimura. Said boy just smiled and took down notes, earning admiring looks from the girls and hateful glares from the boys. Unknowingly, Kimura let out a terrifying aura that made the boys pale and stare ahead to the board. Lunch break. After 2 classes, Issei and company headed to the club. Sona Citri already noted their absence for the rest of the day. Upon arriving at the club, Aeno was preparing tea and Keko immediately sat at the couch to eat cookies that was prepared by the resident sadist herself. Rias, as usual, was taking a shower at the club's shower room. Some things never change do they? Issei's eyebrows twitch in annoyance to the red-headed heiress. Rayner just massaged her temples and Asia just giggled. The shower in the club, well that is one thing you don't see every day. Kimura whistled in exasperation. After a while, the shower was turned off and Rias came out clothed with a towel wrapped around her hair. Issei thanked the Great One for this, at least Rias minded Kimura's expected presence and she dressed herself before coming out of the showers. Everyone, are you ready for the trip? Rias was enthusiastic and gave energy to everyone, Kiba just arrived on time. So Kimura-kun, how are you gonna help us in our training? Surely it will be harsh if Aeno just smiled in a sexy manner to Kimura. He just smiled sadistically and said oh it's not harsh I tell you, all of you will find out when we get there. The tone of his voice sent up shivers to everyone's spines, well except Aeno, she just put up both of her hands to her reddened face and rubbed her thighs lustfully. Tuesday, 6:30 am. Early mountain hikes are healthy, at least that was the experts say. Since Issei and Kimura are equal in terms of power, Kimura beat Issei in speed. Seriously, no other person could slice his blade as fast as he could, though one Ichigo Kurosaki in his Bankai could keep up. Anyway the gang were carrying bags, Rias and Aeno wore the same weight of bags, Kiba wore 2 times the size of Rias and Aeno, Keko carried about 3 to 4 times than Kiba's, Asia wore half of Rias and Aeno, the fallen angels carried the same as Kiba's. Tiamat did not come with them because Ajuka Beelzebub requires her aid. Kimura and Issei's bags, we should call them containers because they are big a moving van's container. Training started 2 hours after, the fallen angels are focusing on their light spears and Aeno and Asia are focused on magic. Rias and Kimura are paired to discuss strategy and energy manipulation theories. Kiba, Keko, and Issei are up against each other. Kimura called them all before they could resume their training. He gave each of them a specific training regime except Issei since he grew up with him, here is how he instructed them. For Rias, she must focus on her control and power output added with minor physical training, Aeno must focus on her magic and her attributes as a queen, Keko must focus on speed and versatility. Kimura gave her training weights that adjusts automatically as she grows stronger. In Kiba's case, he should focus on strength and variety of the blades he can make with his sword birth, he is also given weights and a self-repairing dummy to train with. Since the fallen angels create light-based weapons, Kimura demonstrated his spirit blades, he gave them an idea to construct multiple light weapons in the air and manipulate them telepathically. Kimura then spread out his blades to form a barrier, said barrier slows down the time inside, giving Rias 3 months to train. Everyone was shocked at this development, now they could be at least 3 times more powerful than expected in 10 days. Kimura reminded them that the barrier will only last 3 days to conserve his energy, still Kimura bought them some time, and in the remaining 7, is to polish their skills in the upcoming game. Well, the time bought for them was a blessing, and also a curse. Kimura sometimes interfered in their session to right their mistakes, and it was very painful. For Akeno it became pleasurable, you know what I mean, a degrees, so painful that they would not speak of it again. Present time. Now they are staring again, it wasn't even the last day of the barrier. They fear for their sanity if they stay alive. Time skip, last day of the 10 days. Tomorrow was the battle and everybody was anxious. As a relaxation, Kimura and Issei cooked a meal that could be compared to a buffet. Kimura reminded them to eat as much as they can, as the food would not only fill their bellies, but also augment their energy to be more potent and stable. All of them started eating. As for Kaneko, well, let's just say she went to her very own utopia of sweets and munchies. The rest relished the taste of the food before them, nothing could compare to the cooking of the two responsible for this otherworldly blessing. All in all, it was good. Kimura looked back on how his counseling did to the 3 people of the peerage. Flashback, Kiba's case in the 3rd day of the barrier. Kiba's strength and skill have grown since the first day, yet he still could not reach balance breaker. Kimura called out to him from behind. Fearing for the worst, Kiba immediately summoned his new swords, Crimson Lotus. A single-edged blade of fire that burns hotter as the user is the center of hope, Nether Edge. A knight's word of pure darkness, as it eats away light and converts them to darkness for power, Gale and Delude. A pair of short swords that have wind and water attributes respectively. Don't worry and dismiss your swords. We'll just have a talk. Kimura calmed him down, the released blades disappeared in particles of light. What is it, Kimura-san? Do we need to spar again? It was no joke that sparring with Kimura is like trying to push a boulder to a mountain cause, it was freaking hard to land a solid hit against him. No, it's not that. I would like to talk about your past. That made Kiba stare wide-eyed, his posture was stiff. I see, if that's the case I will tell you. He began his tale how his friends in his childhood got taken for experiments for the holy swords, how they endured the pain, and in the end they were killed with only him being the sole survivor thanks to Rias. After that, Kimura took a deep breath and instantaneously released hundreds of spirit blades which impaled all around the area. What would happen to you if you have fulfilled your vengeance against the holy swords? What will be your purpose? You have that strength in you and the power to protect your own. Would your comrades really wish vengeance? He asked Kiba, which he responded, vengeance is all I know. They did not deserve to die and I did not deserve to live, I could have chosen to die with them. Kimura punched him hard and said, did you not think if your other comrades would be in your place think the same? Wake up, you dimwit. They sacrificed their lives for you to live, and this is how you will repay them, by wasting their sacrifice and thirst for revenge. Kiba widened his eyes and immediately filled with tears. He did not think of that, wasting his time how to exact revenge to those responsible. Kimura took out a small bottle, said bottle was filled with holy energy. Kiba stared at it surprisingly and about to say something when Kimura cut him off. This is a bottle of holy essence I found near the Vatican. You could say that this is the remaining essence of your dead friends. He stepped back as Kiba held the bottle near to his heart. Is it really okay for me to live, to go on, and be happy? All of you, I never forgot how you told me to escape that place. I spent years searching for a way to get back to those wicked men, yet here I am, asking for your guidance. Several ghosts appeared around him. Kimura smiled softly at the scene unfolding before him. The ghost's lips were moving, but no sound was coming out, yet Kiba smiled as tears continued to flow. Kiba began singing a tune, surrounding him with a bright light. He stood up and shouted, we are never alone as long as our hearts are one. The shackles that bind me from the past are broken, now balance break. The sword, a very beautiful sword, is in his hands. Kiba is about to say its name, but broken out of his stupor when Kimura interrupted him. Wait, Kiba, do not say its name yet. If you do it now there is a chance that many pantheons around the world would hear you. Kiba did not understand but complied. He is looking forwards for the match. Kaneko's case. Kaneko was training too, she received a training dummy after the 2nd day to enhance her strength. Kaneko, do you have a minute? Kaneko turned around when she saw Kimura approaching her. Is there something you need, senpai? She asked in her monotone voice, still the same. Kimura thought, sweat dropping. You're a Nekomata, aren't you? Kaneko's eyes widened in disbelief, she kept that secret as long as she could remember. How did you know? Well, you have cat-like tendencies, I also sense another type energy within you that mixes with your devil energy. You fear something, do you not? Kaneko only nodded in response as Kimura continues his gaze on her. You need to let that fear go or you'll suffer the consequences. Kaneko was shaking, then she began her outburst. How can I let go if could hurt my friends, not all those around me? How can I live freely from this fear of losing myself, from being drunk on this power that I was born with? Tears fell down from her eyes as she gave up to her knees. Kimura was silent for a while before he asked, "What is it that you fight for?" That question broke Kaneko from her self-loathing and stared at Kimura. "Your fear holds you back, Kaneko. Abandon it and look forward. If you really want to save Rias from her engagement, you must do this, or else all the training you did was all for naught. You will fail because you let your fear rule over you. When you fight, fight with all your intent and courage. When you want to protect your comrades, believe in all your power that you will protect them. Do not hesitate, do not look back. These are the words I impart to you as a mentor and also as a friend." Slowly, Kaneko stood up and closed her eyes. Her Nekomata features are showing as she opened her eyes with renewed vigor and burning resolve. Kimura smiled and drawn the sword sheath of his blade Arashi, "Tempest, now show me what you've got." "Hi." Kaneko charged at him, encasing her whole body with Senjutsu. Keno's case. Keno was sweating hard, her power wasn't simply enough even the given time. "At this rate, I'll never live in Ria's expectations." She knew too well that her magic is more powerful, maybe augmented by 5 times since their training started, yet Keno drains too much magic. All of them knew that Rayner and his peerage are going to train their asses off because of Issei's immense power he displayed a few days ago. Rayner felt threatened against the new Red Dragon Emperor, and he will do anything to stop Issei. Most likely he will formulate a plan to cripple Issei, while the rest of his peerage eliminate them one by one. She was broken out of her musings when Kimura called out behind her. "Oya Keno, you okay back there?" "I'm fine, Kimura-san, just a little exhausted." Their eyes met and for a few moments they were still. Kimura spoke up. "So you too, huh?" His mood went further into depression. "Eh?" She was confused why Kimura looked so sad. She looked more into his eyes and got the meaning behind his statement. He was also someone who lost somebody important into his life. "I don't blame anyone for his sacrifice, reality is cruel. The only thing I need to live up is that I am his flesh and blood, his remaining legacy." Kimura then looked into Keno only to see her flinch at his gaze. Her hair was now shadowing her eyes, tears falling. She remembered those times when her mother was still alive and her father was with them. They were happily eating their meal as a whole family. One day, her father left for a mission. It was at that time that the Himejima clan were hounding them and seeking for their blood. Her mother's family resented Shuri and especially her, with the fallen angel blood in her. She survived when her mother sacrificed her life to save her from the clansmen and the other fallen angels that attacked them. It was too late when her father, Barakiel, arrived, only seeing that Shuri lying dead and herself crying. Ever since, she resented her father, fallen angels, and her own tainted blood. She told her story to Kimura as he listened attentively. It was like a huge weight was lifted from her shoulders. "You may not have a good start, but at least you have still family left, as for me." He trailed off, looking at a distance. His eyes show so much sadness and suffering. "I have no one left. I could call Issei as my brother in all but blood." Keno was stupefied. She always depicted Kimura as an easygoing guy, but all of his actions before were a facade. His true self was miserable, drowning in grief, yet he held himself strong. He shows to others that he has to stay strong and hold the memories of all he left behind, that they may be a foundation of his strength. "Remember, Keno, I may not be a parent, but your father loves you dearly. It is up to you to know the truth behind your tragedy. We have your back on this. May your sorrow become your will to move on, so that their memories may not be forgotten." She cried again, gaining joy for his words of comfort. She unknowingly hugged him. He became surprised but returned in nonetheless. "Thank you." After that she fell asleep in Kimura's arms. Unknown to them, the two were being watched by the rest of the group. They all have smiles on their faces, especially Issei. "You deserve that happiness, Kimura. Only she can mend your wounds in your heart." The next day, still in the barrier. Keno was very energetic. Now that she let go of her grudge of her past, she began utilizing her natural light magic from her blood and gaining lessons from their fallen angel friends. Her father Barakiel is the most powerful user of holy lightning, and Keno is his flesh and blood, his legacy. Mastering holy lightning was hard for Keno. It took the fallen and Kimura to teach her how to control and utilize it to its full potential. The fallen taught her how to separate her holy element and dark element so that it may not cause interference in her casting. On the other hand, Kimura taught her how to combine it, casing the lightning to be both light and darkness. The downside is that it drains her reserves very quickly because the two elements are opposites and requires great control and precision in charging it. The time passed by, Keno grew accustomed in the strain. They all rested and looked forward for the battle to decide the fate of her king Rias Gremory. Rias' case. While Kimura didn't give counseling to Rias, he gave Issei some advice to open the heiress's mind to the thought of freedom and power. Issei sighed. It was night time, and he is just wandering the halls of the summer home. He thought about everyone, how they did well with the guidance of his best friend. He entered the library and saw Rias reading some books, particularly about phoenixes and the phoenix family. He noticed she is wearing glasses. Your eyesight that bad? Rias perked up and looked at Issei. Issei, my eyesight isn't bad, this is just for focus. He deadpanned but agreed nonetheless, penny for your thoughts. She sighed, phoenixes and the phoenix, I tried looking for some weaknesses. You either exhaust them to submission or deal enough damage to their body or mind for them to surrender. Riser's record is 9-1. That one defeat is for the family which they have close relations to show kinship or something. He listened attentively while she continued her story, she then reached on the thoughts of how she would use her freedom. I want someone to see me as myself rather than Rias of the Gremory. Unfortunately, most people do not agree and suffer the same situation I am in. He flashed a smile, not noticing a faint blush in her face. I'm pretty sure there will be someone who would treat you like that, the only question you need to ask is when that person will come. He went back to his room saying hold on to that hope, Rias. Only that hope will help you not only this time but also in all your hardships that you will face. End of flashback. He is looking forward tomorrow. He almost forgot about Asia. Pure soul she is, she improved greatly on her healing and he personally taught her some self-defense techniques. Remember what they said, always fear the silent ones and the kind ones, they are the most violent of all the people in the world and would make the most battle-hardened soldiers run for their mothers. He also noticed their looks. He now has shoulder-length hair, also Issei. Kiba grew a few inches and his hair looks a bit wild compared before. Asia and Keko hit growth spurt while inside the barrier, they now are taller and missing about 3 to 4 inches to reach Rias and Akeno's height. The two also became more developed in specific areas, 8 degrees. Kaneko's hair reached her waist, and her facial features became more feminine, she also emotes more thanks to Kimura. Asia, on the other hand, braided her hair that she looks like a mini Arturia Pendragon, she became a lot more cheerful, despite adapting a hidden persona of unspoken violence that would make the tortures in Tartarus or any other hellish afterlife look tame. After all the necessary preparations were done, he called them and began his speech. You came a long way, all of you. Do not get overconfident that you will take down the overgrown fried chicken, some chuckled and giggled, but trust your abilities that Issei and I have taught you. Also, do not forget what you have learned about yourselves. They are the ones you will hold on, your identity and your blessing to your legacy, if you are given. They blushed, their legacy, their children, their grandchildren, etc. I will not say more, may the great creator and his watchers bless and guide you to all the challenges that you may face. And with that they clapped, Issei and Kimura sent each other silent messages as the storm approaches. The Orc Room, the day of the battle, Wednesday at 5 p.m. The time is now. They know well what the stakes in this fight are. Riser will be prepared for anything that they will throw at him. Kiba was in a corner doing some stretching as well as Keko. Aeno and Rias were doing breathing exercises to adjust the flow of mana in their bodies. Asia was preparing some holy water, just in case. Issei proceeded to stabilize his aura more. It was growing rampant day by day. Kimura was meditating as 3 spirit blades were floating around him. Meanwhile, the fallen angels were discussing some matters that needed to be resolved, especially on how they will contact their leader Azazel, or should I say former leader. Rafia appeared from a magic circle, Rias know the message. Keko equipped her gauntlets given to her by Kimura, as he called them KTM2 low VE. The 2 metallic gauntlets adjust well with her fist, with hearts shaped on the knuckles, disclaimer. I do not own Freedom Wars or any of its content, only my created character. Kiba created a new blade, and he named it Cerulean Fury, a futuristic blade and capable of generating electricity that can numb an opponent when wounded by it. By its name, its blade is cerulean in color and its handle wraps around the hands of the user. Asia was given by Kimura a miniature version of the original Caliburn, the golden sword of assured victory, to say everyone sans Issei was shocked, they fainted. The sword gives a holy vibe, yet it does not threaten all nearby devils by its aura and presence. Asia accepted it eagerly as she was trained by Kiba to wield a type of this sword. Aeno was given a special bracelet which helps her regulate her mana flow. Issei and Kimura stared at Rias as she fidgeted at their gaze. They looked at each other and nodded. Rias, do you know how to use a spear? Kimura asked. Well, I'm only just an average at it. Why do you ask, Kimura-san? Good, you'll need it. He did not say more as Issei revealed a crimson spear looking like it is very powerful. Is that Gable? Rias exclaimed as the others sans Kimura went wide-eyed. No, but it is on par with it. Kimura and I named it Framira Brasolis, after your magic and your crimson hair. The two smiled as Rias blushed and thanked them. Crimson Spear of Destruction in Latin. If you want to know what the spear looks like, search for Exodus Legion from Freedom Wars. Grafia told them the match is about to begin. Kimura wishes them the best as he and Grafia teleported to the spectators area. It's now or never. Ready everyone? Issei asks. Kaneko's eyes burn brightly in determination. Kiba stood proudly as he remembered the hope he was given again. Asia cheered, while Rias and Aeno smiled at the display. All of them activated the circle that will lead them to the battlefield. Created dimension, Feikuo Academy, same time and area. As the light died down, they adjusted to their surroundings. It seems like they almost didn't gotten teleported at all, but Issei knew better. So that bastard still underestimates our power. He made a grave mistake by letting the battlefield be our school. Issei narrowed his eyes suspiciously as he expands his aura to sense the area. He got life signals from the student council room. They're at the student council, that chicken is surely arrogant. He told everyone as they agreed. We have field advantage, everyone look out for possible traps set up by them. Most likely, they will divert Issei from the main battle and pick us off one by one. Rias deduces all possible outcomes of the match. Sure, she didn't expect that the field will be the school, but she considered it. Knowing Riser and his inflated ego, she laid out the plans for all possible battlegrounds. Kiba, I want you to set up traps near the perimeter of our clubhouse. They will surely try to flank us. Kiba nodded and immediately went for a sprint. Since this is just match preparations, all players can discuss strategies, check for supplies, lay out traps, warm up, and many others. Aeno, utilize your magic to create an illusion. This will help us to catch them off guard. She smiled so sickeningly sweet that it sent shivers to the others. Probably the illusion she will make will not only deter the sense of sight of the enemy, but also will be painful as possible. Keko, Issei, I want you to go together and proceed to the gym. It's one of the critical points of interests. Asia, you stay here with me as you are our support. All nodded, the battle had now begun as the horn was blown. The gym. Keko and Issei hid behind the curtains of the stage. It's been a few minutes since they were there and still no sight of the enemy. They prepared well and expected a countermeasure against Issei, since he is the most powerful of the group and a deciding factor of the match. Come on out, servants of Gremory, we know you're there. A girl out, Issei and Keko peeked and they already identified their opponents, a rook and 3 pawns. As he remembered the information they gathered about the KFC's peerage, the name of the girl in the cheongsam was Shulin. The rook specializes in Chinese martial arts, a formidable opponent against Keko. On the other hand, the 2 twin pawns, sisters as he observed, which names are Isle and Nell, and wielded chainsaws as their weapons. Issei concluded that the 2 pawns were not much of a threat, but he have to be careful of any traps and surprises. The last pawn, whose name was Mira prior to his knowledge, was the weakest link in the chicken's peerage. He pitied her as she was always pushed around by her other peerage members. If I were a newbie in this devil business, I would have freaked out by those 2. Issei sweat dropped at the thought while observing Mira, who is just behind the 2 pawns. At least, they would comply to reveal themselves. Issei was already channeling some mana in his hands, while Keko gathered Yaki to enhance further her strength. Do you think the 2 of you would catch us off guard? Clearly, we anticipated that your strategy. Shulin spoke in a smug tone, while the twins revved up their chainsaws. Rias Gremory may have some fine tastes in picking them. Mira narrowed her eyes as she lustfully gazed to Issei. She already knew about the other male in Ria's peerage. Slice them to pieces. Isle said cheerfully. Cut them to pieces. Nell followed in the same tone. Issei sighed, he was irritated at the attitude of the enemy rook. Keko, take care of the rook, I'll deal with the pawns. He commanded and Keko nodded in approval. She dashed swiftly and caught Shulin off guard as she attempted to block a Yaki-enhanced punch from the stoic rook. Shulin flinched in pain and skidded a good distance from Keko. Meanwhile, Issei looked like he was dancing as he avoided swings from the chainsaws of the twin sisters and deflecting the attacks coming from the blue net. Just stay still and let me cut you. Isle shrieked. No fair. You keep dodging. Nell shrieked too. Fight like a man. Mira was getting irritated, he's treating the 3 of us like annoyances. Issei deadpanned at the 3, KFC was dumber than he thought. Chainsaws hold some intimidation factor and scares newbies, but not him. He hated hurting the girls severely, so he casted a strong sleep spell to them. Just rest, and the 3 fell down asleep. His spell was strong enough to knocking out until they wake up in the morning, so he wouldn't worry the 2 would wake up soon. Riser Phoenix, 3 pawns retire. Announced Graphia, if one would listen carefully, her tone held mirth. As he finished, he watched Kaneko's fight. She has the upper hand as Shulin stayed on the defensive. Her punches are strong enough to break some of my bones, and I have my power as a rook supporting me. Add to that she's very swift and nimble, and leaves no openings for me to counter. Shulin was pressured as she saw from the corner of her eyes that Isle, Nell and Mira were taken out in one spell. She hated admitting it, but she is going to lose this one. The next thing she felt is like that she was hit by a truck and she disappeared in a flash of light. Riser Phoenix, 1 rook retires. Grafia announced. Issei and Keko rest for a bit until they left the gym to be destroyed by Aeno to decrease disadvantageous ground for them. They may never know that the enemy may still use the gym if not destroyed. Kiba's position. As he heard the announcement of the retired pieces, Kiba finished laying the traps. He is just waiting if there are enemy combatants who slipped past by the trap he laid. Until he heard incoming voices, there they are. Coast is clear, no one is here. The first voice said cheerfully. Rias Gremory is making it easy for us to promote. The second voice said smugly. Learn to be careful you buoyant, Sharia, I feel as if this is a trap. The third voice said seriously, she sounded like the voice of reason of the three. Oh come on Marion, as if Gremory is smart enough to set this place a trap. They need to focus taking out Ubaluna-san. Buoyant said. Yeah, as if they are powerful enough to take out Ubaluna-san, this game is in Riser-sama's favor. Sharia followed. You idiots, we already lost a rook and 3 pawns in the gym. Marion was getting more agitated as her 2 peerage mates are too lax. I guess these 3 are pawns. Better keep my cover until they sprung the trap. Kiba thought, while already creating a sword out of his sacred gear. This one was a katana, being near it is like as if the flowers of winter came, its name was Isopiphyllum, if you play Honkai Impact 3rd, you will know. Otherwise, look it up. Just to be sure, he created Gale and Delude and put them to the side of his hips. The 3 pawns began advancing, approaching the traps until Buoyant noticed the bait. Oh this one is a poorly laid out trap. Buoyant skipped along followed by Sharia. Marion was also going to follow until she noticed something off. You two, get out of there now. She warned them, but it's all too late and the trap has been sprung. Kaboom. Riser Phoenix, 3 pawns retire. Grafia announced, a good old-fashioned blow-em-up trap. It worked. Kiba went out of hiding, he didn't get a chance to use his newfound skills and sword. Well, there is always later as there are remaining enemies to be defeated. With Rias and Asia. As soon she heard the announcements, she smiled as everything was going to her favor. Their only problem is not only Riser's queen, Ubaluna, but also his strategist and little sister, Ravel. Riser was not only known for his victories, but also the strategies that his sister can come up, even when they are under pressure. Still, each of them has trump card against Riser, she must win for her freedom. Asia, let's move out. It's time we push them back from where they came from. Rias ordered while Asia is still new in the devil society and culture, she is trying her best to adapt. Not only she learned to control her magic to improve her skill in her sacred gear, but also learned self-defense as she is a pacifist. But Issei and Keko. While moving away from the bombarded gym, Issei's instincts are kicking up. There was somebody approaching, fast. Move away, Keko. Issei warned her, while Keko didn't understand why she trusted her senpai enough and quickly dodged to the side. As soon as she dodged, a bomb landed from her previous position. The two look above and saw a buxom woman looking down at them. Damn, I missed. You are very quick for a rook. The woman commented and prepared more bombs. Riser's queen, Ubaluna, aka the bomb queen. Issei know very well that he could take her, but he worries for his partner Keko. As tough as the rook piece could grant her, her body is small and could only tolerate enough damage before she could be taken out. Ubaluna has ton of experience in dealing with rooks like her and may rapid throw her bombs life a bombing run from a tactical bombing plane. Issei sent his gaze towards his cowhide, she sustained some damage, but she can move enough to get away. While he was devising a strategy for them to retreat, Ubaluna was struck by lightning. Jaya. Ubaluna was sent out of flight and landed on the roof of the building, whilst Aeno was preparing more of her magic. She looks beautiful as ever and was emphasized in her Maiko outfit, Kimura is a lucky guy. Issei, Keko, go now while I'll take care of her. You'll be better off taking out the remaining pieces with Kiba. Rias and Asia are now confronting Riser. Aeno did not turn her back from her enemy, while speaking to her 2 cowhays, the dust from the rubble still hasn't settled. The 2 nodded and ran as fast as they can. They sent silent wishes of luck to their queen. If not from the training Kimura-kun gave me and the others, we will be lenient. But for the sake of Rias, you're going down. Aeno then proceeded bombing the area where Ubaluna landed with lightning. You bitch. I'm gonna Jaya. Ubaluna was about to retort when she was struck again by lightning, a lot more powerful than the last. Within Issei's mindscape. Ddraig was just watching as events continued to unfold, the battle was clearly in their favor. But he could not shake the feeling that something was off, as if the chicken anticipated their movements. Still he needs to warn his partner, as the people always say. Better be prepared rather than not, otherwise you will regret it. But Issei, Keko, Kiba. As the 3 met up, they began to advance further to the council room. When they arrived, they faced the remaining members of Riser's peerage. Issei began silent boosting while Kaneko already began charging Yauki throughout her entire body. Kiba, on the other hand, already has Isopiphyllum and the two blades Gale and Delude. Partner, be careful. I think they are stalling you so that the fried chicken can beat Gremory. Ddraig spoke into his mind. Issei narrowed his eyes, with his power they can break through and reach Rias in time. He observed very carefully, it was a trap to lure him in. Kiba, Kaneko, they are stalling time. I need to get to Rias, but they rigged the whole building with traps to take me out. Issei never left his gaze to the opponents in front of them. Kiba and Kaneko nodded grimly, looks like the tables have been turned for worse. Their opponents are 2 knights and 2 bishops. Rayner was fully intent to stopping Issei. From their knowledge, the first knight that wields as Zweihander is Cirrus, and other was Carloman. Carloman fights more with honor and chivalry, while Cirrus is only intent in defeating her master's enemies. Mihi is a bishop that has powerful magic. The other bishop, Ravel, KFC's little sister, is a strategist and does not engage in any form of combat. Beside, the chicken even included his little sister in his so-called peerage. He began forming a magic circle, and the enemies tensed and prepared for the incoming magic. Mihi began chanting to produce a spell shield, but they were fooled as Issei dissipated the circle and shouted while manifesting his gear. Boosted soul. Soul ignition, ignite link. Ddraig shouted from within the boosted gear. The trio felt their spirits rise, but Issei wasn't done yet. Boosted gear. Slayer liberation. Issei commanded the gear. The gear began changing and become more of an arm, a dragon arm, which covered Issei's left arm. Issei's left arm have spikes along his shoulder up to his forearms. Green jewels appeared from Issei's hand up to his forearms too. Slaying boost. Draig's voice once more cried out. Everyone in the game dimension could feel his rising power, and Rayner was beginning to shit himself. The enemy peerage was overwhelmed by Issei's power that they can't speak and froze into their places. Kiba, Kaneko, take them out now. Issei commanded while gifting some of his power to the both of them. Kiba already drawn Isopiphyllum and slashed to Carloman, the girl barely deflected the strike. Kaneko rushed in a burst of speed thanks to her Yauki and punched Cirrus in the face. Said girl was thrown back wall after wall from the force of the attack. Welsh Dragon's boosted fist. Issei threw a punch coated with Slayer magic to Mihi as she was unable to react fast enough. To think they have this kind of power. We didn't expect this kind of growth in 10 days. Ravel was freaking out, no one was capable of gaining this kind of strength in that kind of time. They did not know that Kimura gave them a time barrier to help extend their training sessions. Riser Phoenix, 1 knight and bishop retire. Grafia announced, Ravel didn't plan very carefully, their only hope was Ubeluna. Carloman was struggling as Kiba's blade met hers, and then ice began to form around her sword. In an instant her blade was broken as Kiba then hit her in the head with the blunt side of his katana. Kiba summoned a yellow dagger, this one's name was the Devourer, as it was capable of draining the strength of those it stabbed. The longer it remains stabbed to an opponent, the more it drains. Kiba stabbed her thigh as Carloman screamed in pain and not only by the stabbed, but also her energy being drained. She fainted as Kiba removed the blade, and her body glowed. Riser Phoenix, 1 knight retires. Hearing the announcement from Grafia, the trio then began approaching Ravel. Get away from me. She loses her balance and began shuffling away from the 3 when Issei approached, one hand rose in front of her face. She closed her eyes from the incoming attack, but none came as she felt her forehead was poked. It was none other than Issei who poked her. Don't think of us who will attack someone that is defenseless. We're here to know what your chicken of a brother planned for us. Issei smiled as he put his hand on top of her head and began rubbing her hair. Ravel blushed on his actions, she was unable to retort because of how close he is, instead she leaned to his touch. The 3 sweat dropped at this. Kaneko commented. Pervert, she tore her gaze away from her senpai while her face was red. She was jealous as she didn't receive any of those actions before from Issei. Kiba laughed slowly as Issei proclaimed. What's perverted here, Kaneko-chan? Tell me now. He told her childishly as Kaneko continues to ignore him. Ravel was unaware of the events unfolding in front of her as she continued to lean closer to Issei's touch. He's warm. Like there is a protective blanket that will keep me safe. Ravel thought, the more she leaned to his touch the more she feels sleepy. Moments later she fell asleep, unable to contain her drowsiness any longer. The trio failed gaining information from her, but she mumbled. Ani sama Arun prevent Emperor interfering, those were the words, they thought about it as it clicked into their minds. Arun to prevent the Red Dragon Emperor from interfering. As they began to recollect their thoughts, they look onto the lessons that Kimura gave them. Runes were a type of magic to use as complex words and combinations, not everyone can use them so most mages resort to using rune stones. Rune mages or specifically rune seekers are the only one capable of mixing runes together to form different kinds of spells. For example, one can stop time in a specific area or bind a specific creature of living being. It is usually chanted in the field and takes a long time to prepare them, but some rune spells are written in scrolls. Rayner may have ordered a rune seeker to create that specific rune spell to stop him at all cost. Runes are absolute, not unless you can decrypt the runes in order to change or nullify it, but also takes time in order to do it. TCH, runes to stop me huh? Kiba, Keko, I'm going to gift you some of my power. Until then, stop Rayner at all cost while I decrypt those runes. Issei gave them enough power while he went outside in order to see and decrypt the runes. He also remembered Aeno, how was she faring? With Aeno. Their battle was intense, Aeno succeeded in claiming Euboluna's Phoenix Tears, which has the power to heal. Though, she taxed her power greatly and Eubeluna was like a peerage, difficult to take out. Seems like you ran out of juice, Priestess of Thunder, I still have enough bombs to skewer you. Eubeluna brought out more of her magic bombs, the look on her face was desperate, even though she is quite beaten up by the magical bombarding of lightning of Aeno. Aeno cannot rely on her magic anymore and she proceeded to go into close quarter combat. In a rush of speed she was in front of the enemy queen. The look on her enemy's face was priceless as she gave a bitch slap and she flew to the side until she reached the destroyed gem. Eubeluna wasn't expecting that the priestess retaliated in close combat, she wasn't expecting her speed too, given that the queen piece gives the traits of a rook, a knight, and a bishop. Rias Gremory's peerage shows an insane growth in the past few days. Ha! You only did not know of the time barrier. Eubeluna sensed her near, she began focusing her magic as she bombarded the area around her with magic bombs. She is expecting the announcement, but it did not came, she then felt her cheek was slapped again as she proceeded to fall to the ground, outlining her body. She was dazed, unable to make out her surroundings anymore as she tried to stand up again. She received another slap, and another, and another. Aeno was bitch slapping her to oblivion. Aeno was still bitch slapping the bomb queen when her body glowed. She finally retired. Rayner Phoenix, one queen retires. Grafia was watching the fight between the two queens, and she couldn't help but laugh at the climax, also the whole underworld who were watching the match. The bomb queen, slapped to oblivion. Probably the underworld news headline would be Extra. Extra. Read all about it. Rayner Phoenix's queen, Eubeluna aka the bomb queen, slapped to resignation. Keko Academy, rooftops. As everyone heard that Eubeluna has retired, Rayner grew desperate. Still, he anticipated as much to prevent the Red Dragon Emperor from barging in his battle with his future wife. The runes he pre-ordered proved quite handy. Though he is facing some difficulty, he cannot injure his Rias any further, lest he incur the wrath of his brother, Serzich's Lucifer. Aside from that, her bishop can heal her until he exhausts his magic, but Rias blocked every flame he sent to the former nun. Now that his entire peerage is defeated, he needed something that could take all the others out, ASAP. It would not take long for the Dragon Emperor to bypass the runes. TCH, I'm out of all options. Looks like I have to make them submit using our family's forbidden magic. Rayner thought to himself, it's all or nothing. He'll face the consequences later for using the magic. Phoenix family forbidden arts. Rayner shouted out, shock evident to the audience, especially his family and those who are currently at the area. Sacred flame. Phoenix retribution. Rayner's magic exploded and the area was bathed with flames of a phoenix. All onlookers, especially the family of Rayner, gasped at this. Meanwhile, with Kiba and Keko. As they were going to the roof, they were washed over by a wave of heat and magic. Undoubtedly, Rayner is throwing everything in order to win. Aeno arrived and caught up to them. She already ran out of magic as she now only relies on close-quarter combat. What's the situation? Aeno asked as her fatigue is evident in her tone. Looks like Rayner-san is going all out. Issei-san can't get through because some runes are blocking his passage. Kiba explained as Keko tries to spread out her yaki in order for them to be protected from the heat. Senpai, let's go before the chicken defeats Butchu. Keko adjusted her yakido her legs to increase her speed, while Kiba and Aeno are beside her. They only hoped that they would make it in time. But Issei knew he needed to decode the runes faster or else Rias will lose. He knew to himself if he were to go all out, everything in this place will be obliterated by the sheer force from the release of his power. Still, he tapped into more of his power to hasten the process. As he did that, he watched as flames covered the whole roof, he hoped that Caliburn will protect Asia and Rias. Come on. Just be gone already. Some of the runes are already disappearing, and in order for him to gain entry, he needed at least 15 more minutes in order to completely dispel the rune barrier. Back with Rias. As the intensity of the heat rises, Rias stick closer to Asia. Asia already summoned Caliburn for protection, yet the heat is still unbearable, she resorted in using her mana in order to empower further the protection of Caliburn. When the flames died down, Riser wasn't in front of them, instead a huge phoenix is in front of them. Soon you will know the true might of the Phoenix family. You will be my bride, Rias Gremory. Flames rained down upon them. Rias used her power of destruction to disintegrate some of the flames that were aimed at them. Another problem that the two were facing was not just Riser himself, but also their magical reserves. Asia spent at least a good portion of her reserves in order for Caliburn to protect them. In a few minutes she'll collapse from exhaustion. Rias, on the other hand, focused on the incoming flames. While she had the time in increasing her reserves, Riser's current form is too taking a toll at her body. Please hurry everyone. She thought, barely struggling in keeping up in the magical pressure. Burn. A huge fireball was heading towards the two. Rias and Asia closed their eyes and waited for the pain to come, but none came. But you. 3 new arrivals shouted. Kiba summoned a twin delude to create a water shield. Keko channeled more Yaki in order to counter the fireball, and Aeno, even though she is taxed, generated enough magic to create a lightning bolt to strike the phoenix from below. Damn you. I was close in attaining what I deserve. You do not deserve our but you. Not now or ever. All of them strike at the same time. Kiba used Cerulean Edge to numb Riser's wings, which he fell to the ground. Keko focused her Yaki and used a low VE to punch his head. Aeno used her enhanced strength and kicked Riser's phoenix nuts. If a bird has a beep, which I have no funking idea if male birds have one. Riser was cut off because of the pain. He may be still in his phoenix form, but he still feel like the same in his normal form. His wings acts as his arms, other body parts act the same as his normal body. To be hit in that spot, saying ouch wasn't enough to describe the pain. All of the males in the whole reality just cringed and thought the same. A moment of silence for our brother who have fallen. Cue dramatic music. Senpai, that was just a low blow. You do not hit a man in that place. I read this in some fanfic, but I forgot who the author and the title of the fiction. I borrow your words for this chapter, thank you. Kiba may not been the one who has been hit there, but let's face it, as a same male, wouldn't you feel the pain of the other male that just got hit in the nuts? Physically, yes, but mentally, that's a big no. A few moments later. All of your efforts are for naught. I shall be victorious and claim my bride. Still as a phoenix, Riser's magical power still fluctuates and continues to burn the surrounding area. The barrier still exists too, as well as Rias' peerage is already exhausted and their wounds are clearly visible. Kiba has 2 swords at hand, Flame Delete and Cerulean Edge, but he cannot last anymore as the heat becomes more unbearable. Only thanks to Asia that he is still standing. The same goes for Keko. Her Yaki is dwindling and relies on Asia's twilight healing to support her. Aeno is worst out of all. Her clothing has burns in the arms, legs, and her stomach any longer, and she will be the first to fall. The battle rages on for several minutes. Rias already has Framia Rubra Solis in her hands, her power of destruction evident in the glow of her body and spear. Asia is behind them, continuing her support using Twilight Healing and Caliburn. Riser already burned majority of the roof, and the Gremory peerage are already back at the corner, near the railings. On a bright night sky, the stars twinkle yet one falls here in the earth. Riser flew upward and his form shined brightly, like a falling meteor. He swooped down. Falling star. True to his words, he is a falling star. The Gremory peerage barely reacted in such speed Riser just had performed. Aeno knew better than anyone that she can't keep up any longer, as such she resigned to her fate. Rias Gremory, one queen retires. Grafie almost couldn't contain her worry. Rias and the others were going to lose, very bad too. The Gremory peerage just gritted their teeth in anger, but Riser wasn't done yet. It seems it wasn't enough to take you all out. Nonetheless, you will all know despair in this foolishness. Riser arrogantly gave them a speech and began charging another spell. Phoenixes are known to give the flames of life, but did you know they are also capable of giving flames of death? He questioned the group. They realized what Riser was going to unleash. Fire that burns in life, fire that burns in death, hear me now. Brucia Purgatorio, burning purgatory. A huge flame descended upon the remaining members. The onlookers couldn't bear to watch the certain defeat, and they may expect some casualties in the overkill spell of Riser Phoenix. Roar. Welsh dragons dominating roar. An emerald light passed by, directed at the falling flame. In an instant, the flame was extinguished. Sorry guys. Am I late? The dust settled from the steam. Issei, now glowing with power, strode by towards them. Hope was restored and a look of relief was in the peerage's faces. Only one problem remains. Impossible. I had every plan executed perfectly. How in the 9 circles of hell are you here? Fire spreads more as Riser's anger rises, no pun intended. Issei just smirked and brought up his hand with a taunting motion, come hither. But Issei, before burning purgatory. Almost there. Issei has been tampering the rune barrier for several moments now. He still doesn't quite understand how these runes get this so complicated and completely halted his aid to Rias. The rune stated that no dragons or any dragon-related creatures are allowed to pass. Issei only need to find the specific rune, yet it took longer than expected. Most of the runes he sees are dragon and whatnot. If that is the case then. Back at the present. Truthfully, you almost stopped me from interfering. I appreciate the effort though, but now the real work begins. Issei already activated his Slayer liberation while Riser charged on. I'll burn you that even your ashes will not remain. Hey. Riser focused his magic more as the heat reached that of Earth's molten core. Issei narrowed his eyes in defiance, he sent a mental link to Ddraig. Ddraig, activate the blood crest now. Are you sure, partner? Gremory and the other devils, including the audience, may be caught up in an attack created by your crest. Ddraig reminded him, with Riser becoming more powerful as time passes by, they'll be surely annihilated by his attack. I can worry about that later, for now we need something to save our asses. Even Balance Breaker is not an option as it is clearly more powerful than the crest. The crest only amplifies what current state its user is. If you're sure, just remember to hold back Ddraig, then circulate it as reserves for Issei to activate the crest. No need to be worried, partner. Issei prepared himself for the incoming surge of power. As if time slowed down, Issei felt it. One of the untamed raw powers of reality itself, all around him, the devils and the audience felt shivers, as if a giant is looking down an ant. I am the pinnacle, the one who rules above them all, the life at its best, and the death at its worst. A voice, seemingly masculine yet feminine, young but old, foolish but with wisdom, warm yet cold, it was a mixture of contradicting ideas. Every living being present heard it and could not help but feel they stare at the truth of their lives. Audience. What is this power? Surziches choked out, sweating from the energy that radiates in the field. Grafia agrees with her master, she watched as the other devils that were watching are the same, shivering and sweating in fear. Her eyes landed on Kimura, his hair shadowing his eyes, his mouth moved, but Grafia did not hear it, but she formed the words from the movement of his mouth. So it begins, Issei, the start of the war. The start of a war, but with whom? Back with Issei and the others. Blood crest. Ultima. Magical sigils flowed around Issei, it was a mixture of all magical knowledge written and forgotten in history. Shock was evident in the battle area, also in the audience area. All of the onlookers except Kimura could only tell few of the sigils that floated around the current RedEmperor. I cannot be defeated, I will have what is rightfully mine. Riser continues to surge his magic yet fails miserably. Blood crest, a peculiar name yet fitting too. The crest's power varies with each individual slayer that uses it. For Issei's, it saps all magic around him and enhances his own to the point of ultimate state, while it could compare to Omega. Ultima is the state where both Alpha and Omega crest's qualities are in its peak, but all three crests and their power is reliant on how powerful the user is. Say your prayers, scum. I have no more to say to you but this. Mors Lux, light of death. Mors Lux kills anything shown by it, but Issei toned down his power in order to mortally wound Riser to the point where his regeneration has sealed temporarily. Since phoenixes are life-based creatures, it is only fitting that the spell could seal the power of life. As the light died, everyone knew who the victor is. Riser Phoenix has been defeated. Victory goes to Rias Gremory. Grafia smiled, Surziches smiled, Kimura smiled, heck even the Phoenix family smiled. It is done, after a near defeat against the Raging Phoenix, Rias let her tears of joy fall. Kiba, Keko, and Asia smiled too, and all of them succumbed to their fatigue. Issei stabilized his power and went to the others, seeing they are asleep, he smiled softly. He then proceeded to the rubble of the main building, where the defeated form of Riser is shown. Riser opened his eyes, staring at the fake sky. So I lost the game. Riser spoke to no one, yet Issei is just there, listening. Even though I have given my all. It's still not enough. He should be angry at his defeat, yet he smiled. Thank you, Red Dragon Emperor. I have become too consumed in my power and you opened my eyes. There is my peerage who would follow me even if the world would end. I do not need a bride, I only need companions as I continue to live on. Riser faced Issei as he said those words, the audience also listened intently. The Phoenix family smiled very brightly this time, they would overlook Riser's use of the forbidden magic as he will begin to change his outlook in life. HMPH, seems like you only need to be taught a very harsh lesson. At least, now I can see change within you. That forbidden magic you used. It may have been amplifying your emotions and desires. Issei informed Riser, now shock was in his face. It seems so, my family told me using it would have severe consequences, and it varies in who uses it. Riser pondered, many in the generation of the Phoenix family used their forbidden magic, many suffered psychological disorders, and their magic burning their very core, for Riser's it was the least dangerous. Well, it's time to clean up this mess, and expect a lot of paparazzi chasing us. Issei nervously gulped at what Riser just said. It was already hard enough running away from the fangirls in school, now he will run away from devil fangirls too. Arg. I really need a vacation. Issei just grabbed his hair frustratingly as he smashed his head to a wall several times, with Riser being his audience. I almost feel bad for you. Almost. Riser just teleported away in a flash of flames. And? So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.